at this qualifying position was Trevor Kinsey, and he starts 5th tonight for Team Hazan as number 6 Ford Mustang out of Midland, Michigan, as we wait to go live. Alongside him on row number 3, another guy who's locked into the playoffs on points, the number 21 Midwest LED Racing Ford of Matthew Paytak out of Vandalia, Ohio. And he won a stage a couple weeks ago as well, so that got him into a future All-Star race as well. And so going on to row number 4 now, we find his Team Hazard teammate Chad Hyder has qualified in 7th for tonight's race. And the Dayton, Ohio native sponsored by Racing Roots with Ham and the U.S. Navy. And alongside him on row 4, as we just get through the pace laps here, we have the number 97 Stars and Stripes Toyota of Ty Higginbotham out of Kansas City, Missouri, winner at Charlotte earlier this year. And rounding out the top 10, we have the number 53 of John Keaton out of Pensacola, Florida, driving for Cobra Kai. Rounding out the top 10, our Sears leader, Scott Bailey. You see those 4 victories out of Allendale, Michigan. The Midwest LED Racing Ford looking strong as ever as we make our way around the field. You see Darcy Ford, your pole sitter. And you're also, the thing we should have mentioned off the top as well, you're also going to see a number of throwback schemes here tonight, as is the tradition at Darlington Raceway. And over the course of the evening, we'll certainly, give you some of the backstory behind them.
Yes, we will. There's some very, very awesome throwback paint schemes here tonight, and they just look beautiful on track here in Darlington.
And we are just about set to go here. So it looks like Burr was just kind of getting the tires good to go. They're coming up to the restart zone here, and I would say we're probably going green this time. And indeed, Darcy Ford accelerates. We are underway in tonight's Fix Auto 250. And so, Ford off to a solid start here. Gibson tucked into 2nd, Nelson in 3rd. And again, it looks like everything's just kind of single file here in the very early going here, Mark.
Yeah, very clean start. No one getting into the back of each other or getting into each other. But I was going to say, if it's any race that Ryan Gibson can win here tonight, it's going to be this one because he won last year, first race in the playoffs, and he's looking very strong here tonight as he's just maintaining his pace right behind Darcy Ford.
Indeed so. Darcy Ford opting to stay with his traditional paint scheme here as he comes on to, I believe that's the back straightaway we're seeing. No sign of a restart zone there, so that's what we're going to say. They're going into turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, it's interesting. Turns 3 and 4 here at Darlington are actually a bit more narrow than turns 1 and 2. The track kind of tapers in at turns 3 and 4, so it's a little bit of a challenge managing throttle control here tonight, which has been one of my struggles overall in NASCAR racing.
And I thought we were going to see Gibson try and make a move, and there
he
goes.
Yeah.
We just saw the tail end of that move, and your new leader is the number 23 of Ryan Gibson, obviously very early in this stage, and we do have the stage breakdowns here for tonight.
Yeah, so the stage breakdowns are as followed: 57 laps for the first stage, 54 laps for the second stage, and 67 laps for the third stage. Now, a tank of fuel can get you 36 laps here tonight. So you will see a green flag stop in each stage, and what our driver in the booth has said, Daniel Cudmore, is that you're basically just splitting it right in half each stage. So, yeah.
And in your kind of pre-race chats, did you have any talks about what, how tires might fare here at Darlington in comparison?
When I was doing my test runs, Darlington is not too abrasive on the tires, so I wasn't really finding tire wear too much of an issue. Now, in the longer runs, you could probably get away with stretching the tire life just a little bit, but not too much, so you lose too much performance in the car. But I'm just probably saying there's going to be a variation of strategies here tonight. I would probably say drivers would elect to take that green flag pit stop, as you have to, and probably go for fuel and maybe just left side tires, because that's what I found was wearing down the most for me, or right side tires, sorry, for me.
And we'll certainly see how that goes as we see Jacob Nelson's moved up into second place. Nelson and Gibson trying to leave Darcy Ford behind here as well. And again, we're still on board with our race leader, Ryan Gibson, and he is running. Let's just see if we've got it in our notes here. He's gone 1995 with the Dale Earnhardt scheme. You're going to see a lot of the Intimidator inspiration here tonight.
Yeah, there's quite a few Dale Earnhardt cars out there on track. A deep dive into NASCAR history. Our very own Jason Butler is actually running a really, really old school Dale Earnhardt car from the 50s. One of his original stock cars, one would say.
And meanwhile, Jacob Nelson's inherited the lead here from Ryan Gibson, as it looks like these two are just going to kind of work together here a little bit in the early going, although Darcy Ford's gotten on the back of them once again.
Yeah, so Darcy Ford has managed to pick up his pace just a little bit, probably getting a little bit of that split stream behind Ryan Gibson. As it's really just a 3-horse race right now. A lot of the other drivers have fallen back, so we're just running with a group of 3 up front here now. I'm just going to go on my screen and see who the drivers are in the back set.
Well, while you do that, we're going to take our first live look here at Christian Burr running alongside Ty Higginbotham and just behind Matthew Paytak here on track. This looks like a battle for 6th place here in the early going. And it looks like Higginbotham is going to sneak in on the inside of Burr, who, again, is making his NASCAR Series debut here tonight.
Yes, and I can confirm that is for 6th place.
And so that makes our top 5, as we saw Nelson, Gibson, Ford running 1, 2, 3. Didn't quite catch who was 4th there, but we see Matthew Paytak there in 5th.
Chad's in 4th there.
And Hyder indeed has made his way up, and he's another one sporting the vintage paint scheme. Again, there you see the number 37 going by, and that's a Rusty Wallace tribute, actually, that we're going to see from Chad Hyder once we get to him. And again, Burr, it's obviously early in the race here, but acquitting himself very well here on this stage. Certainly a hometown track for him, being a South Carolina native himself.
So home race for Burr tonight. It's been so surprising to see these new drivers that we're picking up here just really be able to put it on pace right away. We saw it with Hunter Young when he made his debut in our series, and now we're seeing with Christian Burr. Or Christopher? Christian Burr. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's awesome to see drivers just be able to be on pace right away.
And I mean that, as you mentioned earlier, that sort of speaks to the depth of the overall series itself. As we shift away from Burr now and head over to Trevor Kinsey, again, a guy who needs a strong finish here in order to stay within striking distance of the playoffs. Currently 19th in the driver's standings, 20 points out.
Yeah, and he's 11th right now, and we have 44 laps to go in the stage, as was our update from race control just a few minutes ago.
And we should point out that if you do hear some strange audio there in the background, we are experiencing some audio difficulties as it relates to the PlayStation 4 itself here tonight. So we do apologize for that. We are doing our best to sort that out, but hopefully you can still hear us and still see what's going on. As a matter of fact, we're going to take you even closer as we're right on the hood of Trevor Kinsey now.
I mean, who needs to hear the car engines? They're loud anyways. Just listen to us talking.
Hey, I mean, you can only go so far with that, right? And speaking of going far, we'll see how much further Kinsey can go in his pursuit of the playoffs. But for now, we'll get onto the hood of the number 21 of Matthew Paytak. We talked about him a little bit earlier. He officially clinched his playoff spot with his finish last week at Watkins Glen, and he's currently 9th in the driver's standings.
Yeah, so a lot of these drivers now will be hunting for these playoff paying positions. As we saw in our pre-race show, it's very, very, very close. Closer than it was last year, to say the least. And yeah, we'll be seeing some mega on-track battles here tonight.
And indeed so. We may see one right on the screen here as Paytak tries to get on the back of Chad Hyder for 4th place. And that'll be a couple of Ohio boys going at it. And certainly wouldn't be their first tangle over the course of the season. I believe that prompted an OHNO a little bit earlier, and I know they both got a kick out of that. So we'll see if maybe we get another one here tonight.
Yeah, and Paytak has some pretty good pace in the car right now. There are 2 other cars behind them, though, and they're just sitting and just jockeying right now. Not too much movement here on track. The drivers are settling in nice and well here tonight. And very little contact so far as we see some drivers pulling out there, looking for a move, but not electing to take anything.
And there you do see those other 2 drivers that you were referring to earlier, Higginbotham and Burr, trying to get into this battle here. It looks like Jonathan Warr may have made an early pit stop. Another Dale Earnhardt / Kevin Harvick tribute there, particularly with the number 29 whenever we get to the True North Racing driver out of Saugerties, New York. And once we get there, we will certainly talk a little bit more about that. But for now, it looked like Nelson may have been running a little bit high just ahead of this secondary pack. But for now, it looks like we are going to go to Chad Hyder as Paytak makes the move on the start-finish straight up into 4th place. So we stay with that battle and we get rewarded for it on the screen. Some good clean racing between these 2.
Yeah, and we see already some drivers are getting lapped. Coming up on the back of some back markers now. I know that was Jonathan Warr. The front group just passed earlier, but I think that might be the number 41 that's just ahead of this leading group here right now.
And so that is Jose Mercado, who had to start from the back tonight on account of a penalty incurred last week. And yeah, as a result, as mentioned, he had to start from the back, as did Corbin McCauley as well. So we'll get to Corbin there as well. And he's another one sporting an Earnhardt scheme, as we see Hyder running comfortably in 5th place right now.
Lots of Earnhardt fans out here tonight.
Indeed so, as we check in now with Ty Higginbotham running the scheme of, we had it here, 97, Harry Gant, circa 1991. Particularly the scheme that he ran when he won all 4 races in September, back in the Winston Cup days. So that is, to win even a couple of races back-to-back is something, but to sweep an entire month, that's something else.
Yeah, that is something else. And you know what? Ty might be thereabouts on pace here tonight and is looking very strong behind Chad Hyder as well as Matthew Paytak, just sitting behind him and just really scoping out the field and seeing where he can make his moves.
Yeah, Higginbotham running in 6th place right now, 7th overall in the driver standings. Of course, he has that win from Charlotte earlier this year as well. So Higginbotham, he's had his playoff spot locked in there for a little bit, as I think we saw Scott Bailey heading into pit lane, actually. We saw that just on the back of the last shot as we're with John Peden now. And the 53 is sporting a tribute to Smokey Unick.
A lot of names that I don't know because I haven't really followed NASCAR for a long time. I'm just really getting into it now. But yeah, a lot of history here tonight. A lot of names that I'm learning.
And certainly a great thing about these throwback cars here as well is that you do get a bit of a history lesson here as well. And certainly Peden paying tribute to Smokey. We'll see if he can be a bit of a bandit, taking some positions a little further down the road. And now, obviously, going that direction on the oval, it's westbound and down instead of eastbound and down. But, hey, we'll see if Peden can make his way north into Victory Lane for the second time in 3 weeks. And currently kind of running his own race right now is the 53.
Yeah, he needs to get on to the back of another driver there to really find some pace, as I think Darcy Ford has retaken the lead of this race.
And we'll do our best to get back to that here in a little bit, but as you see, Peden kind of, again, in no man's land here a little bit loose on the back straight, and perhaps a little bit of damage sustained to the front of that 53 as well.
Yeah, perhaps there is just a little bit of damage on the front there. He may have just gotten a little loose and hit the wall.
As now we're with series leader Scott Bailey running the, I believe it's certainly a petty scheme, whether it's Richard or Kyle circa the 80s. We'll just confirm that. Richard. From 1982 to 1992, the signature red and light blue up top.
Yes, and he's running 25th now, so maybe not the race that Scott Bailey was looking for.
And now, as mentioned, I did see him going into pit lane a couple of shots ago, so I think we're coming into that pit window here now as we check in with Reggie Kime here for the first time tonight in the number 77 Cobra Kai Ford out of Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Yeah, and to that point, we did just hit 34 to go a couple laps ago, I believe. And, yeah, the 77 is in 19th place, or 9th place right now.
And so Kime would have qualified 11th tonight. So, decent start here for the number 77. He's a guy who's sort of in the playoff battle, but could very easily clinch his ticket here with a decent finish here tonight.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And Reggie has been one of my most improved drivers over the season. I've just watched him all season, and Reggie has just been consistent, along with Darcy Ford. And, like, he's not up there in the top levels of the championship, but you know what? Some of these lower place drivers can still be putting in as consistent as the championship leaders.
Meanwhile, I think we just saw Darcy Ford heading into pit lane there a moment ago. As we talk a little bit more about Kime's car here, 77 throwing it back to 85 with Bill Elliott. So,
Ooh.
Lovely looking scheme there.
Yeah, and of course, Chase being the real NASCAR champion of last season, son of Bill Elliott.
And also the cover driver / athlete of Heat 5 here as well.
Yes.
So, certainly a couple of interesting parallels as Kime runs a little bit high coming through that turn, but that's sort of a characteristic of Darlington. You are going to get familiar with that wall over the course of the evening.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of wall riding here tonight. It's just a tight track, and obviously you don't necessarily want to cut down where we saw... Well, when Reggie Kime was making his pit stop, you don't want to be cutting down there like you were in a track like Phoenix, as there's not a lot of time to find down there in that part of the track. So staying up closer to the wall is faster, but it's not necessarily the safest, as you do have tendencies to get loose and ride right up closer to that wall, and even on the wall.
And there we see Chase Beatty just emerging from his pit stop. He's a guy who needs a really strong results, really this week and next at Daytona if he wants to have a shot at the playoffs. A couple of unfortunate disconnections getting him over the last couple of weeks. Yeah,
last week was one of those unfortunate disconnects where he really needed to have a good race, and he was doing good up until the disconnection. But yeah. Just a little bit of unfortunate circumstances in Chase's side of the garage.
Meanwhile, we take a peek at the number 12 of Mike Marini, the True North Racing Toyota here for the first time tonight. Throwing it back to 1997 with Kurt Busch.
Ooh, a Busch. Yeah, that's a nice-looking car from Mike Marini, and was on pole last week, so he has strong pace in that car. On road courses. We'll just have to see how he fares here tonight.
I mean, we saw the Bushy McBush race a couple days ago. This certainly isn't Bushy McBush league so far, as Marini looks like he's keeping that number 12 pretty clean here so far. As we're now going to continue our trek through the field, where next we're going to find his True North teammate, Kevin Daigle. And it looks like that Jimmy Johnson-inspired True North Racing Toyota's got a little bit of damage on the front.
Yeah, just a little bit of damage there in the front. As we have 22 laps to go, I did have confirmation that the 64, 23, and 65 have all left pit lane, so they're all back on track right now.
And I think we saw Ford and Gibson pitting together a little bit earlier, so that certainly stands to reason. Zach Sullivan figuring into that equation by the sounds of it here as well. And Daigle, he's looking to work his way back into the playoff equation here. 6 points out of 16th right now.
Yeah, and Kevin has been also very consistent in this season as well. Didn't he win a stage, or not win a stage? He got a podium, wasn't it?
Yeah, finished third at
Third at Charlotte. I keep forgetting that every week. But yeah, that was my standout performance for Kevin Daggle. And yeah, just a bit of unluckiness when it comes to connections. And he's had a couple, right? At least one or two, I remember. So yeah, he's really in on the hunt now for that playoff spot. And I wouldn't doubt that he could possibly pip Andy Hurdle here tonight.
And again, we'll certainly see how that goes. And of course, he missed the Kentucky race a couple weeks
right,
ago, so that doesn't help either. Otherwise, Daigle would very much probably be in a playoff spot right now. Just about his teammate Mike Marini there.
Just a little bit of a bump there.
Real close quarters between the two Thunder Bay, Ontario natives, and one could potentially go to the other's home if they don't like what they're feeling. So, well, hang on, sorry, Ontario, maybe not with all the public health warnings. Maybe it's good that you can kind of get away with it, all the stay-at-home warnings. So let's just move on to the number 7 of Michael Wolford, who was just in the process of putting together his throwback. Again, we don't immediately have the attachment here as of yet, but certainly a different look from the Midwest Elite driver out of Kindy, Michigan.
Yes, and he is in 15th place right now.
And overall in the driver's standings, Wolford finds himself 14th, but if the points were to bear out as they are right now, then Wolford would clinch his place in the playoffs as of tonight. So currently has a 63-point edge on 17th place, so if that gap is 60 or above, then he'll have his spot all locked up.
Right, and we do have a disconnect already. The number 10 of Jason Butler has disconnected, sadly.
Speak of the devil, as we were talking about his 1950s era Dale Earnhardt car, that's the one in pit lane right now, just completely out of it, unfortunately. And
yeah.
Butler 15th in the driver's standings. This is going to hurt.
Yeah, especially where he's so close right now to Andy Hurdle, and we'll have to see where he is on track. And that is looking very squirrely there as he gets really loose. He's driving the Wrangler Dale Earnhardt throwback. This is actually the car that Zach Brown owns, who's the CEO of McLaren. He owns this car, the throwback car that Andy Hurdle's throwing. I think this may actually be a little bit of a connection issue right here.
It certainly looks like it here. Hopefully it's not something from our side of the spectrum as well. And it should be noted that's the Wrangler scheme that Ryan Gibson ran in last year's Darlington race en route to his victory.
And Andy Hurdle's in 17th right now, but quickly, I'll finish the story. So Andy Hurdle's driving this Wrangler throwback. This is the car that Zach Brown owns and has promised a drive for Daniel Ricciardo if he gets a podium in any F1 race this season. So I love the car. I love the history behind the car. Zach Brown doesn't buy any car. He only buys winning cars. So, yeah. Obviously, a good luck omen for Andy Hurdle here tonight.
Should also be noted on the IndyCar side of things, speaking of Zach Brown making promises, with Pato Award winning yesterday on the IndyCar side of things, he's promised to test at Abu Dhabi as well.
Yes, and I'm so excited to see some of these IndyCar drivers come over to F1. The only one that I have to confirm of getting a drive is Colton Herta. But yeah, so we're riding along with Lee Campbell here now. He's in 22nd place, sorry. And yeah, Lee has been another one of those drivers that's thereabouts on points for playoffs. A good night here could possibly shoot him a little closer out of the bubble. So let's see if he can produce a good race here tonight.
We talked about John Peden running the Smokey Eunuch tribute a little bit earlier. Campbell opting for Big Smoke. That'd be Tony Stewart with his tribute here tonight.
Yeah, and Tony Stewart will drive anything with wheels.
And certainly the 14 fits the description here as well. And as mentioned, Campbell just 12 points out of the playoffs right now. So seeing Jason Butler disconnect ahead of him, that gives Lee Campbell a little bit greater glimmer of hope here as we check in on Angel Ortega running. It looks like I would suggest probably yet another Earnhardt scheme here, as he runs low on that Darlington apron coming through the start-finish. I don't think we have that one immediately on file, but certainly the Yakima Washington native looking real good in that number 22, aesthetically.
And they're in 19th place right now, so some good racing right now from Angel Ortega.
And just kind of kissing that wall up in the turn once again, and you see a bit of damage to the front of that North Star Racing Chevy as well. And we are going to, as we're getting closer to the end of the stage here, I don't know if we have an official lap count, but
12 was what I saw from race control a couple minutes ago. I'll just get a quick lap count again.
And as we do, once we have that, we'll make our way back to the lead battles. And for now, we'll check in on the number 65 Stars and Stripes Racing Toyota of Zach Sullivan out of Richmond, Indiana. Another guy, his season hasn't quite gone to plan here. He's certainly had a couple of disconnections earlier in the year, and that sort of hooped his chances from the beginning.
Yeah, and I think he's just biding his time for the F1 season to start. So we have 9 laps to go. But yeah, the laps tick down here pretty fast here.
Yeah, about 29, 30 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark based on race pace. So we'll go ahead and make our way back to our pole sitter, Darcy Ford, as we see, I hope that's not a disconnection for Jonathan Moore. Don't see any wheels moving, so we'll check in on the 29 in a little bit. And we'll get a quick look at our series founder, Dan Cudmore, on the way through. Going quote-unquote vintage with his car, going back to the F1 series, running his Alpha Flow scheme from the F1 season last year. Not quite the same vintage, but hey, we'll go with it. And again, we're just going to quickly go through the field here as we make our way through. Michael Robinson sporting his traditional Blue Lobster Atlantic Motorsports paint scheme.
Blue Lobster, if you're listening, I'm still waiting for that new drink.
Hey, you can indulge all you like, sir, as Robinson crosses the line to begin another lap. And as he does that, we're, again, just going to continue through until we get to the head of the field. We see Darcy Ford lapping Michael Dimitrov, who we're officially checking in on now. Some damage to the front of that number 19 Winston Racing Group Toyota. Also in the theme of their Alpha Flow car from the F1 series back in 2020.
So 6 laps to go now. I'm just going to get a quick top 3 just to confirm.
And as we do that, we'll just zip through Hunter Young here super quickly. Again, toward the back of the field in qualifying, but he's made his way around the field already basically in every race he's been in so far. So don't be surprised to see him around the top 10 when this is all said and done, but we'll talk about him a little bit more later. See Darcy Cudmore in pit lane. I'm hoping that's not yet another disconnection here for the 75, but I don't see any movement in the wheels, so that's not looking too good. So we'll just keep going here to Corbin McCauley. We get our first look at him and yet another Dale Earnhardt paint scheme. McCauley, he had to start at the back because of a penalty he incurred last week as well, much like the next driver we're going to see, Jose Mercado, rocking the old Davey Allison paint scheme for Stars and Stripes Racing here tonight. And this, theoretically, should bring us back to the head of the field, or at least to our pole sitter tonight, Darcy Ford.
So I can confirm that Darcy Ford is the leader, followed by Ryan Gibson in second, and the number 9 of, Jacob Nelson, in third.
Indeed so, and for Ford, he's basically got to go clean sweep here the next 2 weeks if he wants to have any hope of securing the number 1 seed for the playoffs. Any playoff point he doesn't get, that will mean Scott Bailey clinches number 1.
And we have 2 to go, coming to 2 at the line here now as we'll ride along with Darcy Ford here.
Indeed we will, as we'll just change up the camera angle here. We'll just see what Ford is seeing, and all he's seeing is basically clear track ahead of him. And he'll see, I believe, the white flag for this stage this time around, as when you were saying 2 to go, he was crossing the start-finish.
Okay, perfect.
So in theory, it should be 1 lap remaining in this stage here at the line. And certainly no signs of slowing down in the 64 to this point. And he's looked, basically, pretty strong here so far.
Yeah, and has a sizable gap now on Ryan Gibson, as there's a couple cars in between the two drivers.
But not enough time to get anything done here as Ford will cross the line, and that should give him stage number 1. So, looking at it, looks like everybody's slowing down here, and indeed it has. So that is going to be our first scheduled caution of the evening. And Darcy Ford, he grabs the win in the number 64 Atlantic Motorsports Ford Mustang. Another playoff point to add to his tally, and again, it keeps his slim hopes of the number 1 seed alive here in the Canadian eMotorsports Network NASCAR Series playoffs.
Yep, and it'll take a lot of work from Darcy Ford to take back that number 1 seed, as I'll let you take the explanation for that there.
Indeed, so, well, the explanation's pretty straightforward. He's got to run the table on playoff points this week and next, because the gap on playoff points alone and victories, 4 wins to 2, Bailey over Ford on wins, 14 playoff points between Bailey and Ford at the top. There's only 14 playoff points left, well, 13 now that Darcy's claimed this one, and the gap is 13. So the only way that Darcy can grab number 1 is to run the table here, as we are just about set to go in stage number 2, and we are underway, and it looks like Ryan Gibson's got him by a nose here to begin this middle stage of tonight's race.
So I do have the top 10 finishers of stage 1. I'll go through them real quick. It was Darcy Ford, as we saw, take the win of stage 1, followed by Ryan Gibson in second, followed by Matthew Patak in third, followed by Ty Higginbotham in fourth, Chad Hyder in fifth, Jacob Nelson in sixth, Corbin McCauley in seventh, John Peden in eighth, Reggie Kime in ninth, and our new driver, Christopher Burr.
Christian Burr on the board here, so that is his first point in the series, and what we'll do now is we'll give you a live look at how this factors in from the bubble perspective here as we bring it back to our live camera. We see Ford still running in second place here very early in stage number 2. And so, what we're seeing here, we'll just make sure that we've actually got the positions correct here on what we're going to show you. So, from a bubble perspective, nothing's really changed. So, no points for any of the drivers in the bubble configuration right now. Jason Butler's still 15th, although, again, he's got the disconnection, so that is going to prove problematic for Butler here at the end. Andy Hurdle stands to potentially benefit, Kevin Daigle as well.
Yeah, so these two drivers right now really stand to benefit from this disconnection. So we'll have to watch out to see where both Andy Hurdle and Kevin Daigle will finish at the end of the night.
And even you can throw Lee Campbell into that equation here as well, as we check in on our race leader, Ryan Gibson. And again, we'll do our best to keep those live stats updated as we go here as well. And again, you see the battle between Gibson and Ford at the head of the field. Pretty close here to begin stage number 2, and stage 2 length, as a refresher, Mark.
54 laps. So roughly around the same pit stop strategy here in the second stage.
And then, of course, we get to that slightly longer window in stage number 3 as well. So this is, again, probably an opportunity for the drivers to split it down the middle, as you were talking about in stage number 1. But ultimately, you know, been pretty clean so far here, Mark, and you have to be honest.
Yeah, very clean so far. It's not really a track that I've seen so much contact between other drivers, more so just drivers making errors on their own. As I say that, I see Matthew Patak on my screen getting to the rear just a little bit of, I think that's Corbin McCauley ahead of him. But yeah, not so much driver-to-driver contact, more or less just a little bit of driver error, I would call it.
And right now we're checking in on Jacob Nelson, who turned in a strong stage finish here to open up this race, and he's hanging right around the back of the top 10 here, if my eyes are correct.
In 7th.
And indeed, that's about where I figured he would be. And again, Nelson very much locked into the playoff picture, 5th overall in the driver's standings right now. You know, he'd love to grab another win just to improve his standing that little bit more, because he could potentially leapfrog John Peden with a victory there.
Yeah, he very well could leapfrog John Peden in both the standings, the regular driver standings, as well as the Rookie of the Year standings, if he can get that. Sorry. Totally different driver. I was thinking Matthew Paytack. But yeah.
It's all good, Mark. We've had a lot of racing over the last few days, so it's easy to kind of get things a little bit distorted here by times as we check in now on Christian Burr. Finished 10th in stage number 1, and again, his debut within our NASCAR Series tonight, he's acquitted himself rather well, it has to be said.
Yeah, so he's in 8th place right now, and looks like he has some massive pace in this car as he's quickly catching the back of Jacob.
Indeed so, and looks like he's got, yeah, that does look like, well, I think that's Sullivan maybe just ahead of him there right now in the whites, and I think Chase Beatty's in the picture there too. And Beatty, he's another guy who needs a strong finish here tonight and next week at Daytona if he wants to have a puncher's chance of getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, like we said last week, he had that disconnection. Quite unfortunate circumstances of that disconnection, as I think he was really looking strong. But, you know, it is what it is, and it's just racing.
And we'll bring that bubble up here once again as we look in on Trevor Kinsey. Or I thought we were looking in on Trevor Kinsey. I hope that doesn't spell a disconnection for the number 6. Because this is an awful long time to be staying at this camera angle. And indeed, 6 is in pit lane. I was about to say he's another guy who needs a strong finish. But looks like the old internet bug got him again this week.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. The last update I got from Race Control, he was sitting in 24th. So, yeah, that does look like a little bit of a disconnection.
Now, another guy who's basically got his car fully connected to the road here, almost looking like it's on rails right now, the number 21 Midwest Elite Ford of Matthew Paytack out of Vandalia, Ohio. And, again, in familiar company, tucked in behind Chad Hyder, much like he was in Stage 1.
Yeah, so these two drivers really understand the conservation side of NASCAR, really not pushing their car too hard, kind of like the Sergio Perez of our series. Both Chad Hyder and Matthew Paytack have unbelievable tire-saving abilities and fuel-saving abilities to really stretch the fuel mileage out to the fullest. And yeah, as we saw, Matthew Paytack made that move on his teammate, or on Chad Hyder there, sorry. Teammates, they aren't teammates, they're
state compatriots, both from Ohio. As, again, you did see that move, and it was a lovely move indeed, very similar to the one Paytack made on Hyder in stage number 1, and I believe that's once again for 4th place.
Yeah, 4th and 5th, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would put Paytack 4th, Hyder in 5th, as we will, well, I guess we'll probably stay with this battle because I think Hyder's our next camera angle, and indeed he is. So, yeah, we'll stay with it just for a little while longer, and we'll see if Hyder has a response here in the next lap or two. The two Fords running pretty strong, though, it has to be said.
Yeah, well, we do have the Ford up in the lead there, too. Or was in the lead. I think they may have gotten overtaken by Ryan Gibson. But yeah, the Fords are looking really strong right now in the manufacturer side of things. Not something we keep track of, but very interesting to say the least.
Indeed so, as we will now go to the number 97 of Ty Higginbotham, who looks like he does have some damage to the front of that Harry Gant-inspired Toyota Camry.
Ooh, maybe not looking good for Ty right now, but hopefully once the pit stop cycles around, he'll be able to get in there and out and fix that damage up. As we've had a really good jockey for position up front. Both Ryan Gibson and Darcy Ford have been battling really hard right now. Oh.
And was that Gibson into the wall?
That was Gibson into the wall. I think he just got into the side panel of Darcy Ford. I was watching on my screen, and it looks like he's fallen all the way back down behind Zach Sullivan, I think, but that's a lapped car. So, yeah, and it looked like Corbin McCauley was in on that action there, too.
And we'll have to see how that shakes out. Meanwhile, we check in on John Peden once again. We'll have to do our best to, again, reassess where everybody is following that bit of contact. Again, we didn't quite catch it on our stream as we were making our way through. And again, Peden, it looks like he's definitely got some damage to the front of that Cobra Kai Chevy now.
Definitely. As we have 35 laps to go, so look to see some pit stops coming here soon. I'll keep an eye on it with the leaders, but right around now is when we'll see some drivers start to take some pit stops.
Indeed so, and we kind of talked about that halfway philosophy. Not quite there yet, but not too far off from it either. As we make our way through here, I'm just going to go ahead and mute the other computer. That way nobody can actually hear what's going on as I try to monitor everything else. Meanwhile, we're with our series leader, Scott Bailey, right now on screen. And Bailey did not factor into the points in stage 1, I don't believe.
No, he didn't, and he's sitting in 15th place right now. So the 19 car I'm hearing is pitting. So, so that would be Michael Dimitrov in the Winston Racing Group car is pitting. So we are hitting that pit window right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if the leaders start ducking into pit lane any lap now. So I'll keep an eye on that.
There's always that outlier as well, just to, kind of pull the curtain back a little bit. Obviously, everyone, once they see the performance, they're going to figure out what their strategies are as well. And Dimitrov being the first to come in, that could be an example of, just watching what someone else is doing and, just continuing on from there.
Yeah, for sure. You could really gauge a lot from watching your opponents. Like I said last week, if you just sit back behind someone in a road course race and you're there for 2, 3, 4 laps time, if you watch them closely, you could see where their strengths and weaknesses are. And now another depth to that, if you have a race engineer, they'll be telling you constantly where your opponents on track have weaknesses and have strengths. So it's an interesting dynamic. A lot of the front-running guys will be watching their opponents and seeing where they can make their moves.
Indeed so, as we look in now on Reggie Kime, again sporting that Bill Elliott scheme, as it looks like one of the Winstons is going into pit lane. I think Scott Bailey may have as well, as we peel backwards. Well, maybe not just yet.
Yeah, so we have 30 laps at the line, and the 97 of Ty Higginbotham is already starting to pit.
And again, that's almost at that halfway point that you were referring to before. So it kind of stands to reason that everything's going the way it is right now, certainly. As, again, we just keep an eye on Kime. We've seen a couple of times here over the course of the year that Reggie, he can certainly get close. And who knows, maybe Kime time comes tonight or next week at Daytona, or maybe even he's a playoff surprise as well, because you've mentioned it a couple of times, Mark, but he's a guy who's improved over the course of the season.
Very much so improved. As I see right now, Darcy Ford is into the pits. So that's our leader, Darcy Ford, into the pits.
And we also have Mike Marini in pit lane as well, just watching his live stream. Matter of fact, he may be just coming toward the end of his pit stop. And again, we're just dealing with a couple of technical issues here tonight, so if things are a little bit slower coming through our broadcast tonight, that's why we're doing our best to get that information out to you. Just, some things are a little bit slow here tonight. But, hopefully everybody's still enjoying the racing as we check in now on Chase Beatty, who's still on track here, which is a good sign for him, again, given the connection issues he's had, especially over the last couple of weeks, but at different points of the season as well.
Yeah, and no response for race control for Chase's position on track right now. So we may have to watch another stream to just get that little bit of information there.
And again, if we have that information, we'll do our best to get it to you. And again, this is not always the easiest thing to keep track of. For those of you who are new to the NASCAR heat side of things, we do not have an immediate leaderboard that we can pay attention to. So that makes it a little bit more difficult on our side of things in the broadcast. So we do rely on the drivers to provide as much information as possible wherever they can. And, most of the time they're pretty good, but obviously a track like Darlington, you do have to have quite a bit of focus as well. So we understand if the answers don't always come right away. As we go to Mike Marini right now, just on his out lap effectively, and currently in 12th place according to his own live stream. As Reggie Kime is currently your leader as we cycle through pit stops.
So yeah, Reggie might be electing to take a little bit of a longer pit cycle, so...
Well, we say that, he's coming in now.
Oh, well.
Well, it was a lap or two longer, so technically we can be right. Nothing wrong with feeling good about yourself, particularly as you're trying to figure all this out. As we get back onto the regular broadcast camera with Marini, who's in 11th place, just tucked in behind Jose Mercado. Not 100% sure if that's for position or not. And we see Kevin Daigle. It looks like he is just coming back out on track from his pit stop. Scott Bailey right behind him. And Daigle, it looks like he'll rejoin in 8th, or 9th by the looks of things as he gets back onto the main straight. And, for Daigle, this holds, this is the kind of result he needs.
Yeah, if it holds. But what I learned, if you stretch it longer, your tires start to wear down, and it doesn't really make for nice driving, really, once those tires are dead. They're dead, and you don't get any more grip out of them. Same with fuel. Once you're out of fuel, you're out of fuel. I mean, you could try to coast back to pit lane, but that's easier to say the least here at Darlington. But if you run out of fuel at a track like Daytona, it's really hard to get back on empty. So maybe he'll be looking to make a pit stop any minute. But yeah, so hopefully, just so he doesn't run out of fuel.
And Mark Cox, skilled driver, equally skilled tap dancer. Thank you very much for the interlude there as we check in on Michael Wolford once again in the number 7 Midwest Elite E-Racing Ford out of Kindy, Michigan.
And he's in 9th place right now.
And again, I think we'll have a little bit better idea of what everybody's doing now that we're able to watch a few more streams in here in studio as well. And I'm sorry, can you oh, no need to repeat that. 9th is what I'm seeing, thanks to Mike Marini's stream, who is currently in 10th.
And I think they are very close on track as well. What's the gap there? Can you see it between Marini and Michael Wolford?
Looks like
4.4 seconds.
Oh, I don't even think it's that much. It looks like a 0.
0.4 seconds. So yeah, they're right. Oh yeah, they are battling right now on track. As I say it, Michael Wolford is going to make a move here into turn 1 on Mike Marini. Oh, I thought he was, but just looked, and Marini closed the door.
And that was after Marini made the move himself to get up into 9th. So we've got 20 laps left in stage number 2 now that we're able to kind of follow things a little bit closer. And so, again, we'll do our best to provide a little more context here, we can give you, the majority of the top 10 here. 4th through 10, we can give you. I believe Darcy Ford's still in the lead right now. That's what we're hearing.
Yeah, that's what I believe. As he looks to be the sole car out on track with a Winston car, I think, behind him, and I think it's also Corbin, who is the next car on track to Ford. But I will confirm that in just a second. Sorry, it's the 57 in second right now.
So that's Christian Burr making his debut, and he's in second place here already. So that, again, a phenomenal run here for our newest NASCAR Series driver. So
do we see Andy Hurdle on track on screen there anywhere?
We do, as a matter of fact. We've got him in 20th place according to Lee Campbell's live stream. And again, we're coming up on 15 laps remaining in stage number 2. We can give you, again, the majority of the top 10 here, thanks to both Reggie Kime and Mike Marini. And looks like you may have to put a 1 in front of that 2 with Christian Burr. Burr running in 12th.
12th.
So,
okay.
Again, 4 through 10 we can give you here thanks to some of the leaderboards we're watching, as we've got 17 laps to go in this stage, 16 at the line for Darcy Ford. Corbin McCauley 4th, Ryan Gibson after that incident we saw earlier down to 5th, Reggie Kime in 6th, Jacob Nelson 7th, Kevin Daigle is 8th, again, needs those points, Michael Wolford in 9th, Mike Marini rounds out the top 10, as we've got now 16 laps remaining in the stage. As we're going to go to Lee Campbell running in 19th place right now in the number 14 Team Huzzah Ford Mustang out of Ballston Spa, New York.
So Lee's been running a very good race here tonight. Just a bit on his own by the looks of it, as he just got past. I think that's a lap by the number 13 there, which would be Kevin Daigle. Yeah, so it's a tight battle going underway, I believe, up there in the front. But Darcy Ford on my screen looks like he has a large gap on any car close to him. But yeah, very interesting race so far. Oh, as Darcy Ford is loose on my screen. Oh, wow. Sorry, just getting a little bit distracted on all of these screens here, as I think that might be a disconnect for Angel Ortega, as we ride along right now with Zach Sullivan.
Indeed we do. The Stars and Stripes Racing Toyota of Richmond, Indiana. As it looked like that might have been Burr tagging the wall up there in that corner. And again, Sullivan, he's another guy who's had, unfortunately, his fair share of connection issues over the course of this season. And, we know he's got the speed, again, from the F1 side of things. Just hasn't necessarily translated to NASCAR this year.
Yeah, and like I experienced coming from other racing games and racing titles, NASCAR is just a totally different beast. It's a lot more difficult than I actually thought it was. To say the least, there's a lot more intricacies that you have to know, and one of the best parts of it is making a move on the outside, which in motor racing is one of the harder moves to make on an opponent. And these NASCAR guys, if they hop in an open wheel car or a sports car, they know how to make those around the outside moves, and they can do it with ease.
And certainly some audacity to the outside move there as well, because you're just showing the driver ahead, and it's just, you've got the faster car, you're going.
Yep, for sure.
And speaking of going, we are going to go now to, we're going to go past the disconnected Jonathan Moore as we ride with Dan Cudmore now, series founder, again throwing it back roughly 1 year to his Alpha Flow Formula One series car. And Cudmore, he's another guy who's in the playoff picture right now and in 18th place on track.
Yep, and can confirm that from race control as well.
And again, if he's able to finish, he's 69 points up on 17th place going into tonight. If that gap's above 60, he clinches his playoff spot tonight.
So yeah, if he gets that, I mean, that's a playoff spot for Daniel.
And for those unfamiliar with NASCAR, the points will reset after next week at Daytona. So based on the playoff points that everyone's accrued over the course of the year, the order will be reset, and then there'll be eliminations. Every 3 races will lose 4 drivers from the championship hunt until we get to the championship 4 for our series finale in Las Vegas in late July.
And what a place to finish the season. Las Vegas is a big, massive spectacle, to me anyways. It's just an amazing track. Very, very similar to almost like Michigan, where it's wide and a lot of movement. And as we saw in Michigan, it can produce some very, very interesting racing.
Las Vegas, the home to our closest finish in series history to this point, where Scott Bailey took the win over Darcy Ford by, I believe it was 18 one-thousandths of a second last year. So basically neck and neck. We saw that race a couple weeks ago at Kentucky looking, really close. Even closer than that, because Eden winning a couple weeks ago, that was 33 milliseconds, I believe, where, again, Bailey and Ford, 18 between them. So,
you know what? I'm going to have to rewatch that.
Oh, man. It is something to watch for sure, as we can confirm Matthew Paytak certainly in that battle there as well. It looks like a battle between Paytak and Corbin McCauley for 3rd place, as a matter of fact. But I wonder if Paytak had an issue there, as it looks like the gap has gotten pretty big pretty quickly between those two, as we got 6 laps remaining in this stage.
So yeah, I think Jacob may have gotten onto the back of Darcy Ford, if I'm seeing it correctly.
We see Hunter Young spinning here on the back straight. And so we were talking a little bit about the tires earlier. Maybe there's some handling issues happening here at Darlington, some underlying things. We know it's a tricky track, but
may have only taken one side on tires. As I was watching, I saw Darcy Ford got a little loose out of, I believe, turn 2. Yeah, because he wasn't coming up to the back to the start-finish line. So out of turn 2, he got a little loose and almost ended up in that infield barrier, but managed to save the car. So, yeah, we have some interesting battles heating up here now. So, yeah, that's Corbin McCauley we're watching now, and Matthew Paytak, and I think that was Zach Sullivan down there on the bottom, or is that Jacob?
That was Sullivan. I believe that was lap traffic here. This is a battle for 3rd place between McCauley and Paytak. McCauley, again, he started toward the back. That's a heck of a drive.
Yeah, that's a heck of a drive, and I can attest to that. He did that at Spa-Francorchamps last year in the F1 series. Both him and I started I started last, and he started second last, and he ended up winning, and I came in 2nd place, just right behind Corbin McCauley. So he does have that ability to make his way.
Sorry to cut you off there. I think McCauley actually hit the wall coming out of turn 2 there, and that's allowed Paytak to get up into 3rd place. And McCauley looks like he he took the lower line there, certainly coming through that turn, and we see Mercado doing the same as we ride along with him. I wonder if that's actually a pit stop maybe for the 41. Nevertheless, we'll go to Darcy Ford, who I believe is still at the head of the field right now with 2 laps to go. It'll be 1 lap at the line.
So, yeah, Darcy Ford is looking closer to that clean sweep, but although Chad Hyder's right behind him.
And, yeah, Hyder, he's a guy who can hang around. We've talked about him a little bit over the course of this year. Very much in that conversation of best driver to not have a win since we started the series last year.
Yeah, and that doesn't fall short in motor racing. There's a lot of what you would call goats in motor racing that don't have wins at all, even less so championships. So it's not so surprising where you have a field of cars where they're really good on track, as I think that was the end of the stage there.
Indeed it was, and that's another playoff point for Darcy Ford. And so we were talking about Ford needing to run the table. He's got both of the stages here tonight. We'll see if he can hold on for the win, which again is exactly what he needs to keep himself within striking distance of the number 1 overall seed.
Oh my goodness, this is close.
So, we'll give you the top 10 officially after a quick commercial break here. We didn't get to take one between stages 1 and 2. You better bet we're going to take one now, as we're going to bring you stage 3 on the other side.
Oh, Fix Auto, the first words that should come to mind after an accident.
As we are back racing, Chad Hyder looks like he's got the jump on Darcy Ford into stage number 3, our third and final stage here at Darlington, as there's a lot of action going on track there now. So it's Chad Hyder from Darcy Ford to what looks to be Corbin McCauley, but there's a big gaggle of cars back there. So
Reggie Kime actually jumping up into third off the restart here. Jacob Nelson tucking in right behind him. And it looks like Matthew Paytak rounding out the top 5.
So that contact between Darcy Ford and Ryan Gibson really looked like it was Gibson that took the beating on that one there. So I'm going to keep an eye on that, see if Ryan can make any moves up the field.
And so, yeah, we can give you the top 10 as they run right this second, and we'll give you the official top 10 of stage number 2 afterwards. So, again, it looks like Darcy Ford has reclaimed the lead here from Chad Hyder, so that's 1-2 right there. Reggie Kime third, Jacob Nelson fourth, Matthew Paytak rounds out the top 5 on this one. Corbin McCauley 6th, Kevin Daigle 7th, Mike Marini 8th, Chase Beatty 9th, and Michael Wolford rounds out the top 10. Although, of course, with streams being delayed as they are, everything, as we've kind of seen over the course of the last year, subject to change.
Yeah, and I think I see Matthew Paytak making a move on Jacob Nelson right now, or just a lap ago. And, yeah, so that would change that position. But I will give you the top 10 of Stage 2, which would be, as we saw, Darcy Ford taking the win from Stage 2 off of Chad Hyder, who comes home in second, Matthew Paytak in third, Corbin McCauley in fourth, Reggie Kime in fifth, Ryan Gibson in sixth, Kevin Daigle in seventh, Jacob Nelson in eighth, Michael Wolford in ninth, and Mike Marini in 10th.
So you said Nelson 8th, 9 and 10, please?
Michael Wolford in ninth, and Mike Marini in 10th.
Okay, so that means, well, not quite full-on movement, but we do have some things changing a little bit as it relates to our bubble standings, and we will get to that momentarily, as, again, we're just kind of finalizing everything on our picture here, and Stage 3 length is somewhere in the 70s, correct?
67 laps.
All right, again, certainly a longer run than the first 2 stages, as we, again, just make sure that we have everything in order here. And as we do that, we will, again, just get everything finalized, and then we'll bring in the updated bubble numbers here. And yeah, now we can, in fact, go ahead and do that. So we are going to, in, again, just a matter of moments here, just as soon as we get everything sorted out. There we go. And now, as promised, the updated bubble. So what that does for Kevin Daigle, the 7th place finish, that gives him another 4 points, as you can see. Doesn't improve his position, but it brings him within 2 of Andy Hurdle for the final playoff spot. And again, Jason Butler not out of the woods there either, and we saw he already had the disconnection, so we know he's finishing 28th here tonight.
Yeah, so some movement here in points, that is. No position changes just yet, but we'll have to see at the end of this race what happens to Andy Hurdle's playoff spot.
Indeed so, and again, I think he may be helped by the fact that his teammate is disconnected, so that may be a saving grace here tonight. As long as Hurdle can stay in the field himself, that'll give him a few points to kind of get in line with his teammate here, as well as we check in with Ryan Gibson. He's got Christian Burr on the back of him, and it looks like they're trying to chase down that secondary pack with Ty Higginbotham on the tail.
Yeah, and that contact there, Ryan came off worse, losing second place from to that contact with Darcy Ford. So just a little bit unlucky there. Hopefully he can make his way back up the field, though, as I'm just skimming through the field here now on my own, trying to make my way up to the leader so I don't lose it when he makes his pit stops.
So right now your leader, I believe, is still Darcy Ford with Chad Hyder in second, and I can confirm that.
Yeah, it's very, very close between Darcy Ford and Chad right now. Chad looks like he has a little bit of the stronger car. Maybe Chad can get that win that he's also been waiting for 2 seasons now.
And what a time to do it if he could, as again we're watching his stream on one of our other monitors here too. Again, running in second, he's got his front screen full of the red and white of Darcy Ford as we ride with Jacob Nelson right now. Just on the front of it, just looks like he's got a bit of a gap between himself and I believe, I'm not sure if that's Wolford or Daigle behind him in the yellow. Meanwhile, Daigle up into fourth, so that is a significant development from the bubble perspective too, as we're gonna just go ahead and make our bubble go away. That way we can actually watch some racing.
Yeah, so interesting now for the bubble. But I'm just watching right now, right close to this battle up front. It looks very, very close. Chad has come within striking distance now to Darcy Ford, as you see on your screen, our new driver, Christian Burr.
And indeed, we saw Burr grab a stage point at the end of stage 1. Didn't factor into the points at the end of stage 2, but again, turning in a strong run in his Canadian eMotorsports Network debut.
And much the same with our other newcomer, Hunter Young. No playoff eligibility here if one of the 2 drivers were to win a race. So it would actually be interesting to see if any of them have any, strong suits in the playoffs. See if they know any tracks coming up and know that they're strong at them. So maybe we could see a surprise race from one of them at our upcoming playoff tracks.
We may well, as I just saw, lap counter 53 laps remaining in tonight's race. 52 at the line for Darcy Ford once he gets there, as we saw a couple of cars get a little bit loose.
So Chad might just be biding his time as I'm watching him as we're going over Trevor Kinsey, who's disconnected. We're riding along now with Matthew Patak.
And Patak, he was toward the head of the field, has been for the majority of the evening. Looks like he's tucked in behind Kevin Daigle, which would put him in 5th place with 52 laps left.
So Kevin Daigle's had a really good race here so far. Doing exactly what he needs to. Oh, but he looks like he's going to get squeezed out there by Matthew.
Oh, so tight there between Patak and Daigle.
And that's what I was saying at the beginning of the pre-race show. Not a lot of room to work with here at Darlington, as you really just want to stay above that dotted line. So, very, very close quarters racing right now.
And it looked like Reggie Kime was in tight with somebody right behind them there too. So
Yeah.
a pack of 4.
Oh.
I think that's Corbin McCauley at the back of that pack. Indeed, it is the
Yeah.
17. So 4 through 7, maybe actually 5 through 8.
As I saw, Chad Hyder just made a move as well on Darcy Ford for the race lead. But yeah, this heat is heating up right here.
And here we are. We are with the race leader now. So good call on that MC.
Yes, so Chad Hyder's our new race leader as he's looking to break the toe off of Darcy Ford. That's just that split stream there called the toe in motor racing. But much like Chad was, Darcy has some pace in that car once he gets behind Chad and is closing in really fast.
Indeed so, and these two might just kind of go around the track here for the course of this 3rd stage. I'm sure neither of them would mind.
Not at all. I mean, as long as they stay out of each other, I mean, just collecting that crucial data right now for Darcy Ford, knowing where and when he can make that overtake, could get him the race win. But much the same with Chad Hyder, very smart, very high NASCAR IQ, very well could close the door if he knows that he has that ability.
And now, potentially, we saw it a little bit in the IndyCar race on Sunday. Could they potentially trade positions here in the name of tire conservation too, especially knowing that they have the one pit stop left?
Yeah, they very well could. Yeah, Chad does have the very great ability, like I said, very much similar to Sergio Perez in Formula One, of being able to conserve tires and making fuel mileage last. I wouldn't be surprised if Chad does let Darcy go closer to the pit stop window, just to ensure that Chad can get that little longer on that stint in the third stage, to maybe pip Darcy Ford coming out of the pit stops.
And I can tell you now, Chad Hyder, it looks like his fuel window is within the next 15 laps here. So wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe cut that just a hair short, as he's got 46 laps left in the race. So 67 lap stage, probably put it in the next 12 to 13 laps. Estimate that for Chad Hyder if he wants to split it down the middle.
Yeah, you're correct on that for sure. Yeah, it's going to be tight here. We very well could see some drivers run out of fuel. Not so unfamiliar to our series, as we've had a few races where drivers have just made that wrong strategy call and ran out of fuel in the last few minutes.
Both of these drivers have actually been affected by that very affliction this year.
Yeah, and I
recall Chad Hyder at Kansas under the cautions. He kind of got caught out. And then a couple of weeks ago, that crazy finish where I believe it was Scott Bailey who wound up winning, but Darcy Ford, Ty Higginbotham, and a couple others all ran out at the end.
Yeah, that was just incredible. All of those drivers running out of fuel, and I think it was Peden who took the win, wasn't it? Who just came out of nowhere, or was it Jacob?
Nelson finished second. Bailey won that one.
Okay, so yeah, it was just Bailey out of nowhere coming to sweep that win out from under him.
Indeed so, and again, we could be in for another interesting finish here tonight, as we're going to step away from this lead battle here just for a little bit. We're going to check in on Ty Higginbotham. Now looks like he's tucked in behind Reggie Kime, which would put him in 7th place right now on track.
Yes, and Reggie's been doing so phenomenally tonight. I just want to get a confirmation on Ty's position, as I do know, yes, he is in 9th place right now, or was 9th a couple laps ago.
Yeah, it looks like, again, he's tucked in behind Kime, who's showing his 6th on his stream, so I'm not sure if that's lap territory. That looks like it's for position based on how competitively they're racing.
Yeah, I would say that's for position. So, yeah, very close battle between Reggie Kime and Ty Higginbotham right now, as they're going bumper to bumper, just trading bumps right now.
Indeed so, and that'll be an interesting battle to watch here, even potentially through this corner. I thought Higginbotham might try and go low on Kime, but instead they both maintain the high line, and Kime will maintain the position for now.
Ty might just be playing this in the name of fuel conservation, as well, as he's also one of those drivers who does have that masterful ability to save fuel.
And now we got the smokes together here. You got Lee Campbell in front of John Peden. Campbell, of course, running the Tony Stewart tribute. John Peden, who we're focusing on right now, running the old Smoky Unix scheme, as we saw Campbell get a little loose there into the turn, and almost door to door, Peden goes by.
That's 15th place for Peden, so that may be even 14th now, if that was for position.
And again, I don't have Campbell's stream up in front of me anymore, so I don't have the benefit of being able to tell you that right offhand, but I can tell you that after a strong run to begin the stage, Kevin Daigle back down to 12th place right now, but that could be a thing where he's going for the long game as well. We saw him up into 4th earlier.
Yeah, so, well, that still gives Kevin some massive finishing points there too. If he can maintain that 12th place, yeah, that could give him some points.
And again, you already know you have Butler and Kinsey just kind of watching helplessly right now.
Yeah.
For their disconnects too. So for Kevin Daigle, I think you just have to kind of grab as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, that would just be damage limitation too. Just, understanding that this is playoff territory and bringing the car across the line is really the only important thing right now.
Indeed. As I was going to say, if we had all of the positions, I'd try and do some live tracking here, but we're not. I mean, we're ambitious, but there's a point as we check in on series leader Scott Bailey. Again, still unable to officially claim the number one spot just yet, although if Chad Hyder hangs on for the victory, and he is still your leader, although tires look like they're going down here for the 37.
What's the percentages that say on his screen there?
Front right is showing 19, back right 21. Considerably, well, more than double on the left.
So, yeah, that's about the same as what I was running. So he's probably going to look to be coming into pit lane any lap now if he wants to maintain the lead of this race, as he just got a nice draft off the back of a driver there.
And we're coming into that window now. I believe Hyder's screen showed 36 laps remaining, so we are basically right at that halfway point that we were talking about just a little bit earlier, Mark.
Yeah, if you pit right now, you will make it to the end if you're not too aggressive. And that was a point I was just about to make. Darcy Ford is, in my eyes, one of those drivers who just likes to punch, and just keep track position. And he doesn't really let off so much. And that just showed in Kansas, was it, where he did run out of fuel? Or was it Kentucky? Atlanta, where he ran out of fuel. That just shows that he's a little punchy there. So he may want to just dial it back just a little bit, but it looks like he's dialed it back on Chad Hyder right now from my screen. So yeah, maybe just learning that fuel conservation trick could really help him out there in some later races in the season if he's biting for that top spot in the playoffs.
34 laps remaining in this one. Reggie Kime on our screens right now running in 7th place. And again, his tires definitely on the right sides are going low as well, as we check in now on Chase Beatty, who's in 14th place.
So I just watched Chad Hyder's in pit lane right now, and Chase is still on track, which is really good for him. After a couple disconnections in the last couple races, it's good to see Chase really get a car underneath him for tonight.
And we'll have to see. I couldn't quite tell if Ford came in behind Hyder as well just to match strategies, or whether there's going to be an over or under in play.
I think Ford is still out on track. It didn't look like it when I was watching, but we see a host of cars come into pits right now.
One guy who's not in pit lane right now is the number 12 of Mike Marini, who we see on screen of the True North Racing Toyota out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. Second place last week at Watkins Glen. We're going through that final pit window now, so he's going up the board into 6th at the moment with 32 laps remaining. But again, this is all subject to change on account of the pit window. Yeah,
all subject to change as we see on our screens here now. Chad Hyder coming back onto track, as we do see Mike Marini making his pit stop right now.
And Hyder rejoining in 13th, so roughly another dozen cars ahead of him. Another one would be Kevin Daigle, currently running in 3rd, but again, should be noted, has not come in for his pit stop yet, although has to be said, he's doing quite an admirable job on those right side tires. The right front lasting a lot longer than the right rear, which is a little bit antithetical to what we've seen from the others. Right, and I think he is just coming into pit lane right now. And again, we're all just getting them at the end of this pit window, so we are going to take one lap.
Sorry, I see Darcy Ford on my screen. Sorry for interrupting. Coming into pit lane.
Well, I was just about to say we're going to take one more commercial break here, and then we'll try and sort it all out on the other side for you, as Coverage of our Fix Auto 250 from the Darlington Raceway continues.
I think Chad's gonna
Oh, Fix Auto, the first words that should come to mind after an accident.
but yeah.
And now we're back for tonight's Fix Auto 250. We're going to bring you the end. Here we're with Michael Wolford right now. As, again, Hyder, we see Chad Hyder running in second on our other stream right now. Oh, we see Wolford getting a little loose there on that straight. Somehow Kevin Daigle able to avoid him there. That could have been disastrous as Marini goes by as well. I think that's going to be Wolford making his pit stop here, though. Maybe not. Just got a little hairy there on the back straight. And we can tell you that after pit stops, Chad Hyder has once again reclaimed the lead.
So yeah, that was a very smart strategy call on Chad's behalf there. Pipping out Darcy Ford on the pit stops, just making that undercut work on Darcy. Like I said in the pre-race show, I thought that would happen. Drivers electing to take a pit stop to either undercut or overcut the driver they're racing as we ride along with Andy Hurdle right now.
Indeed we do, and it'll be 27 laps remaining when Hyder hits the line next. And so we are getting into kind of that closing stage here now as, you know, everybody's now fueled to the end. That's how we're looking from here. It's basically just tire management at this point.
Really, though, it is just tire management here to the end now, which shouldn't be an issue, as the early stages of these tires seem to last a little longer than I was expecting. So the drivers won't really have to worry about too much major tire wear towards the end of the race as we get a closer look on track with Lee Campbell.
Indeed we do. Campbell, he's another guy who's in that bubble picture, and he does stand to, again, benefit a little bit from the disconnections of Jason Butler and Trevor Kinsey from earlier in the evening. And so that puts him within, you know, somewhat striking distance here. Again, we don't have an exact position, although we can get it because, again, he is live streaming right now. And so we will do our best to do it as we see him going up into the wall.
As I think I saw Matthew Patak and Ty Higginbotham right there, right close on track. I think that might even be for position.
And so we're going through, geez, just a slew of disconnections there. I think we saw Sullivan collected in that as well, as now we're on board with Daniel Cudmore, the Winston Racing Group Toyota out of Charlottetown, PEI, series founder.
And I'm just getting a position now from him. Oh, we have 24 laps to go. So,
indeed we do. And Cudmore, he's another one of those guys, depending on his finish, he can clinch his playoff spot here tonight. I would say it's almost a given that, well, obviously if Chad Hyder wins, he'll be through for sure. Reggie Kime, basically a given to qualify as well. And Dan Cudmore and Michael Wolford are also in that conversation of potentially locking up after tonight.
So he's in 18th place right now.
And so we're going to continue our way through the field here as we see Michael Robinson. I'm hoping that's not, I don't see any wheel movement, so thinking that could be another disconnection for the Atlantic Motorsports Ford Mustang, again sponsored by Blue Lobster. As we're back on track here with the Winston Racing Group Toyota of Michael Dimitrov out of Stratford, PEI. Much like his teammate Dan Cudmore, sporting the orange and black of Alpha Flow F1 Racing from our Formula One series from just last season. So somewhat of the throwback element in there still.
And it'll be really nice to see that orange and black car back on the F1 circuits when we get back to racing in F1 later on. But yeah, not really a throwback, but kind of a callback to their F1 days.
Indeed so, as we see Dimitrov, looks like Marini's coming up on the back of him. Marini in 12th, so this would be a lapped car that Marini's passing here, or at least coming up on the back of. And now we're going to check in on Hunter Young once again. He's had A few strong finishes here so far. 3 top 10s out of 4 races so far. Night isn't quite going the same way here for him at Darlington, although let me just make absolutely sure of that before I go, saying too much. Let me just pull up our projector here in the studio. Yeah, I don't have an official position check on the 20.
That is Ty Higginbotham and Matthew Paytak there.
Whether that's for position or not is the other story, though.
Yeah.
And so Paytak running in 5th, and we see him in between Higginbotham and Paytak. We see Young there. It looks like Young is running a little bit lower, potentially to let Paytak go through on the high line. And indeed, there is the move made. And I do not see a position change here right offhand.
Okay.
So I don't believe that's for position that we're seeing, as it'll be 18 laps remaining at the line. Chad Hyder's still your leader. And now we're going to continue our way through the field. Again, we see another disconnection in the form of Darcy Cudmore. And we go now to Corbin McCauley running in 6th place. Again, starting toward the back of the field because of the penalty. Really good run here for one of the many Earnhardt-inspired Chevys.
Yeah, really good run here tonight for Corbin. Making good use of that new Fanatec wheel, I would say. Although we aren't sponsored by Fanatec. So, he's just learning how to drive a car again like I had to when I got my Fanatec. But yeah, really good race to come through the field like that.
Like I said a couple of weeks ago, we're not paid to say that. We're just Fanatec. It doesn't get any better the second time, I swear. As we move on to Jose Mercado now. Again, another guy who had to start at the back of the field after a penalty last week.
So he's in 16th place right now.
Mercado, he's in on points, but he's a guy that's, it's a little bit surprising to see he hasn't gotten a victory this year. He certainly had his moments, but it just hasn't translated to the top step just yet.
Not just yet, but as we say that, Chad's lead to Darcy Ford looks like it may have been eaten up just a little, as I think that is... Yeah, no, that's Chad right behind Jose for lap traffic. So we'll ride along with Darcy Ford here right now, who is slowly making his way back up as he goes real wide down there on the apron.
Indeed he does. Just trying to find any line imaginable here, as it'll be 14 laps to go in this one when Chad Hyder crosses the line. And it looks like he's got about a corner between himself and Darcy Ford, or half a straight by the looks of it.
Oh, so that gap is closing so fast. I thought that Darcy would get caught up in the lap traffic of Andy Hurdle and them there, as I saw Chad go wide down the back stretch, much the same that Darcy Ford did a lap earlier.
And there you get a better sense of the gap that exists right now between Hyder and Ford. Hyder coming up on a bit of lap traffic, so... that could potentially, it could help or hinder him depending on how quickly he can clear that car.
Yeah, it could. Or he might just be biding his time and getting that split stream, although it looks like he's just a bit too far behind Jose to really grab that split stream, as we have 12 laps to go.
It'll be 12 at the line here once. Looks like they're just about to cross the line here onto the start-finish straight, so 12 as of now. That's what you're seeing on the screen. And for the rest of the way here, we are actually, we'll stay with Ford for another couple laps. Then we'll go through some of the field battles before we get to Chad Hyder again in the final 6 to 7 laps. So, again, we'll stay with Ford for another lap here. It doesn't look like that gap is being eaten up quite as much as maybe we were thinking a moment ago. Looks like Hyder's doing a good job of kind of maintaining that pace right now, as we got 11 left.
So we're really getting down to it right now. This has been a tight race, as I just see both Darcy and Chad twitch just a little bit. Oh, there's a car down on the apron.
That's Mercado that we were seeing.
Oh.
And so that's from 16th, but that gives, well, again, it takes away that slipstream that you were talking about, or draft, or whatever you want to call it, for Chad Hyder. But at the same time, it eliminates a potential issue in clearing a lapped car as well, so it just gives him more clear track.
Yeah, and it gives him a little bit of clean air, too, as he's not disrupted by the wake of that car of Jose. So, yeah, Chad's just really got to hold on to the car right now and bring it across the line. No matter where he finishes tonight, I would have to say he should be proud of this race tonight.
Indeed so, and now, as promised, we're going to go through, a few more in the field before we get to Chad Hyder, as he'll have 9 laps to go at the line. Or they've actually just gone over the line, so 9 left now. So, we're seeing Ryan Gibson right now. He's in 8th place, trying to chase down teammate Reggie Kime as they come down the start-finish straight. And it looks like Gibby might have a move on his teammate here, and indeed he does. So,
I think that's purely academic there for them.
And it could be as well. Certainly not a team play per se, but you know what? They're, again, just kind of running together right now. As I wonder if Kime, no, his stream doesn't show anything going on with him. It's just Gibson has the speed right now. As we check in now on Jacob Nelson, who was running toward the head of the field a little bit earlier. And let's just see who he's got behind him. So that's Christian Burr right behind him, and Burr is in 11th. So Nelson, he may not be on the lead lap here right now, as we've got 8 to go. And it'll actually be 7 at the line here as Hyder crosses. Indeed, 7 left. And again, we're just going to keep going through the field here really quickly. Christian Burr, once again on our screens, in 11th place right now, trying to nip Scott Bailey for a top 10. That'd be quite the statement to make in an opening race.
It would be.
And so, again, we'll see if Burr's able to make that move in the late going. Burr and Bailey certainly familiar with one another, as we've got 6 laps to go, so we're going to continue through the field. We saw Trevor Kinsey disconnected there. Now checking in on Matthew Paytak, who's been running in the top 5 all night in his Midwest Elite E-Racing Ford. And so it looks like things are getting a little closer on your screen there, Mark. So
I just saw Chad
let's watch.
Crack up into the wall there. As I have a top 3, it's Chad Hyder from Darcy Ford onto Jacob Nelson in 3rd place. So that's our top 3 for right now. The gap is closing up as
Hyder getting a little bit loose there. Ford might have an opening up high. And
they're side by side. Oh no.
They are side by side. I didn't quite see what happened there. Looks like Hyder hanging on here onto that back straight. We are going to have an absolute showdown here at the end, I think.
Yeah, I think we are. And I saw Chad just get a little loose and hit the wall, and that's when Darcy Ford really clawed his way back up from his lead on Chad Hyder. Ooh, this is close.
And once they get to the line this time around, it'll be 3 laps to go. So will Chad Hyder be able to hang on for his first victory in the Canadian eMotorsports NASCAR Series, or will Darcy Ford snag it from him at the very end?
As I see on the screen,
3 laps to go.
Chad's tires are really worn down right now, so it's just a job to bring it across the line for this driver right now.
And Ford, he's right there trying to figure out a move, potentially looking for his 3rd win, and here he goes on the inside. Ford will have the run on that inside line. Hyder up high, and Darcy Ford has reclaimed the lead, but Hyder might get him back on the inside.
On the switchback there. Oh, yes, and Chad is going to...
Yeah, maybe not. Just not quite the speed there. 2 laps to go now.
He's going to get a split stream there now, so if he could just sit behind Ford.
Now it's just a question of pace, I would say, unless Ford makes a mistake here at the end, and they're not going to get close enough to those lapped cars ahead of them. And so it looks like it's just going to be a 2-horse race here at the end. Darcy Ford opening up the gap here as we've got the white flag out now. It's the final lap of tonight's Fix Auto 250 from the Darlington Raceway. Ford still in the lead here. Hyder, bit of a gap there, not really able to do much about it here, though. He may have one more chance coming through turns 3 and 4.
Took a look there, but I don't think it's going to happen.
And indeed not, as we'll just skip right back to our pole sitter, Darcy Ford, and it looks like he's going to hang on, coming through the restart zone. And for the third time this year, it's Darcy Ford in the number 64 Ford Mustang. He comes out victorious at tonight's Fix Auto 250. So close there for Chad Hyder at the end. The end result comes out as 0.4 of a second between Hyder and Ford. Just a couple laps in the difference.
Wow. So by the looks of it, it seems like that undercut just may have worn down the tires a little too much on Chad Hyder's car, and that little bit of a twitch there who got him up into the wall and really allowed Darcy Ford to make that move on him. Wow, just wow.
So close there at the end. Another bit of a heartbreaking instance there for Chad Hyder in the Ford Mustang. Just couldn't hang on to the very end. But again, for the third time this year, it's Darcy Ford who claims the victory and perhaps more importantly in his case, keeps alive his bid for the number 1 seed.